Welcome to Making Money with Laura Sanders, a name you can trust. With over 20 years of real estate experience and selling over 150 homes a year, Laura Sanders is the #1 RE/MAX agent in the state of Florida for 2021. Join us each week as we discuss how to make money through buying and flipping homes, to renting versus selling, and everything in between. To join the conversation, call in live 888-994-4995, Studio A.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Making Money with Laura Sanders, and I am your host, Laura Sanders. Every week we talk about something that can help you make some money, save some money. We want to try to help you to navigate all the different crazy things in life. So, have you ever got pulled over for a DUI? I know I haven't, thank God. I definitely might seem like I'm drunk when I'm driving, but I haven't been pulled over. One time for popping a zit, actually. So anyway, welcome today. We have Kevin Unger with the Ticket Wizard. Actually, they're rebranding themselves. So welcome, Kevin.
It's a privilege to be here.
He's been in business before I was born. Just kidding. But he's been in business for a long time.
Since 1995.
Since 1995. So yes, I was definitely born. Okay. So Kevin, your company was called before?
Unger and Coet.
Okay.
And we realized that some people can't remember the name Unger, some people can't remember the name Coet. They bumble it, they call me Hunger, they call him Cohen. So we decided that we're gonna just go with a name that we thought would be easy, Ticket Wizard.
Took from 1995 till now to figure this out.
It was a slow process, a very slow process. Initially, we thought just like two of the lawyers' names would be sufficient. And then we realized 28 years later, that maybe we should just go with a name that would represent what we do and have the name in the, I guess our name, not our name, the name of what we do legally in the title, I guess.
Because you're our wizard.
For lack of a better term, yes, I am.
Okay, so when did this change happen?
It happened years ago, but we never implemented it. We didn't have.
But when was it implemented? So,
3 months ago.
Okay, 3 months ago. So I'm going to be curious to know, in another 7 months, we're going to have you back, and we're going to have to see, how's business, right?
Yes.
Are we going to see an increase in business? Like, I think you could track it and see if you've increased from, because, I mean, you know, you would know what you normally do year to year over 28 years, right?
Yes.
So just that's like just an aside for people with marketing, right? To see if changing your marketing to something that's more manageable, how does that work? Because if like my last name was supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, I don't know that you're going to remember me as a realtor, right? So branding's really important. So
I agree with you, and also customer relationships and building relationships, I think is the most important. Even though we changed our name from Unger and Coet to the Ticket Wizard,
very personalized.
We're still personalized. We still give our clients what we feel is extra attention when needed. Some clients obviously need a little bit more attention, a little bit more hand-holding. Also, it depends upon the type of legal problem that they're facing. If it's something a little more serious, then obviously we're going to spend more time with them because the consequences are greater if something goes wrong. Whereas with a regular ordinary ticket, a lot of clients, they just want us to handle it as best as we can. And obviously our goal is to get a case dismissed all the time, but sometimes that's just not possible, but we do use
Well, let's talk about
efforts.
that then.
Okay.
Obviously, some people might be a little confused on who's your client, right? It's not just a traffic ticket for speeding. It could be a DUI.
Correct. What's unique about what we do is that even though we call ourselves traffic attorneys, the term traffic attorney really encompasses all kinds of tickets. It could be as simple as a speeding ticket, a red light, a U-turn. Then you have more advanced tickets, suspended licenses, DUIs, leaving the scene of an accident, fleeing and eluding. Those types of cases are more serious and obviously require more time to see how we can hopefully put together a defense to defend some of these people.
Kind of funny that I even have you as a guest tonight. This morning, I was at my son's school, like freshman year, gathering this morning. And I had parked in a parking spot, and then when it was time for me to leave, somebody had parked a little bit behind my car. Now, I'm a pretty crafty driver. I saw them, thank God, and I was maneuvering my way out of it, and I got out. I was out fine, and I was like, what an idiot. Like, who parks, like, blocking somebody, like, right? But then I looked at their light, and their light was broken, their tail light was broken. I'm thinking to myself, what if they blame me for that? So I took a picture of their license because I was concerned maybe they would say that I hit their car.
Okay, so
And that can happen to people where people accuse somebody of hitting them and they've never done it.
I agree. So in today's litigious climate, more and more people are suing each other for a variety of reasons, especially when it comes to accident cases. So if it's okay with you, I can give you and your base a few tips if you are in the unfortunate situation
That'd
of
be
getting
great.
into an accident.
Because this will save you money down the line
sure.
and tell you, what to do when you're in this position.
Okay, so if you are physically able to and you were involved in an accident, the first piece of good advice would be see if you can get a picture of the person's tag, because sometimes people flee the scene of an accident, and then if you don't have their information, it's going to be very difficult for you to recover your damages if you can't track down who the party was who caused the accident. Second thing you want to do, in addition to taking a picture of the tag, is also you want to document as best as you can with pictures what the accident scene looked like, what your damages were, what the other party's damages were. You also want to see if, and you want to make sure that you can identify the driver of the other vehicle. That's very important. And that's a key defense for traffic attorneys.
So take a picture of them too.
If you can. And also, when you exchange driver's license information, insurance, card, registration, if you could take a picture of their documents as well. If you can't, at least a good visual of them with a picture. It doesn't have to be a smiling picture, just a quick picture of them so you can verify who they are. So 6 months, 3 months down the road, you can identify them when your case goes to court.
What happens if you can't identify them? What happens then? You say,
Okay.
I don't remember, it was 6 months ago.
Okay, so if you cannot identify the person who was in the accident with you, then it's going to be more difficult for the state of Florida to bring the case against the person who caused the accident. Obviously, if a law enforcement officer is there, they're going to want to make sure that you can pinpoint at the time of the incident who the driver of the other vehicle was. If you can do that, then the officer would then go based upon your representation that this person was the driver. They'll take their information and now they'll craft an accident report, and that's very important for proving that this incident occurred. And another tip that I may want to give to you is, or to your viewers, are if you are involved in an accident, you want to make sure that the driver's license exchange is filled out so you can document that the incident did in fact occur and that you're not making this up, and you have a law enforcement officer there to document what happened and their version of the events.
But a lot of times, there's not a lot of damage, and one party will say, listen, there's not a lot of damage, no reason to call the cops, but that could in the end bite you in the butt, right? Because they can go back and say, hey, they fled the scene, right?
Okay, so you just brought up a really good point. I would say if someone's involved in an accident, even if it's a slight amount of damage, it may even be a scratch, I would rather you report it and risk getting a ticket for causing an accident than not reporting it and having the person take off, because you'll never ever recover if there was a situation when you had to seek monetary damages. It's going to be very difficult. If the person leaves the scene, you're never going to be able to communicate with them. And even if they say to you, don't worry about it, I'll pay you, let's not call the police, please don't fall for that. You're better off reporting an accident and documenting it properly than just saying, hey, listen, we'll fix it on our own, or we'll talk later. Later never comes, and you'll never get a resolution.
Now, you're a different lawyer than a lawyer, and correct me if I'm wrong, right, than a lawyer that would actually, let's say you got hurt in that accident, and you're now crippled or maimed somehow, injured, now you have a dislocated disc in your back or something. Would that still be you, or would that be a different kind of lawyer?
Okay, so oftentimes, first of all, it's a different type of lawyer.
But you can refer them out to that.
I can
come
refer
to you
them
first
out.
because they might get a ticket.
All right,
correct.
right? So sometimes what happens is that a person can need two types of lawyers out of one traffic accident. If they're injured, they're going to need a personal injury lawyer. We don't do that, but we have attorneys that we work with. There's several of them who represent people who are injured in accidents. We don't handle that type of law. We handle the traffic ticket and the consequences that come as a result of the traffic ticket. That's what we do. We don't do the injury portion. We do what would be considered the driving portion, or the licensing portion of the accident or the event that occurred.
maybe tell our audience, like, when you are pulled over, right? Obviously, the cops will write down everything that you do and say, and they'll note it and make notes for themselves so they'll remember when it goes to court. So what should they not do or say?
Okay, that's a very good question. While you want to communicate, let's say if it's an accident case, you want to communicate what your observation or your assessment of how the accident occurred. Now, the officer may or may not believe you, but at least if you tell what you think happened, the officer now has to talk to the other side and make a determination based upon paint smear, based upon damage to both vehicles, even looking at the ground to see where, like, let's say a headlight or a tail light broke, and they would look to see where the point of impact was. And that would help then determine what happened. Sometimes, even though you want to communicate with the officer, that's covered under the accident report privilege. And some of those conversations can be privileged. However, some people say too much. And when you say too much, depending on if it's just a traffic accident or now a traffic criminal investigation, those are two different things.
Well, of course you wouldn't say, I was just out and I just had one large keg. You wouldn't say that.
And people do. And so, surprisingly, you'd be surprised, the running joke in the industry is I only had 2 beers or 2 drinks.
No,
and
see,
that's what they say.
No, my ex-husband would say, I only had 1 beer. And I say, you mean 1 keg? Okay, but that's 1. Yeah, but...
So, well, let me do this to clarify this. Sometimes, and this is what we kind of started with, sometimes a traffic ticket could be a traffic criminal ticket. And it depends how the law enforcement officer makes the assessment at that time. So for instance, sometimes when you get involved in an accident and you leave the scene, well, now it's a misdemeanor, okay? And that's called leaving the scene of an accident. And you can go to jail for something like that. And then if there's alcohol related, then you're even in more trouble. Now it's a DUI and a leaving the scene. And if somebody's injured, now it's a DUI and leaving the scene, and now there's an injury, and now you have a felony case as opposed to a misdemeanor case.
Wow.
Can I just tell you the one little difference? A misdemeanor is a crime, for purposes of this discussion, that's punishable by less than a year in jail if you were to go to jail, and a felony is a crime that's punishable by a year or more of prison time.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Well, when we come back, we're going to go to commercial, but when we come back, we're going to talk about what happens if you disagree with the law enforcement, listen, the New Yorker just came out, the law enforcement officer's assessment of the incident. So when we come back from commercial, we'll talk about that, but stay tuned. You're going to go ahead and see our mortgage lender, Max Fish, and our title person, Title Brothers. Stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Whether you're buying, selling, refinancing, or building your dream home, you have a lot riding on your loan specialist. Max Fish, a top 1% mortgage loan officer in the nation, will give you a same-day qualifying quote. Max Fish is committed to providing his customers with mortgage services that exceed their expectations. Ensuring that you make the right choice for you and your family is his ultimate goal. Contact Max Fish today at 954-729-6933 or max.fisch@nwmcorp.net.
At Title Brothers LLC, our mission is to give you the best closing experience anywhere in the country. Founded in 2020 by Adam Lohman and Josh Wiseman, here at Title Brothers, we're your one-stop shop for residential real estate, title insurance, title and escrow services, real estate closing, and due diligence services. While primarily located in South Florida, we also host dozens of closings throughout the state and even electronically as requested. To contact the Title Brothers, call us at 954-995-4988 or visit our website and get a quick quote today.
You have been watching Making Money with Laura. For more information, contact Laura Sanders at 954-650-0827 or visit her website at thelorasell.com. And now back to the show.
Hi everyone and welcome back to Making Money with Laura Sanders, and I am your host, Laura Sanders. Today we have with us Kevin Unger from the Ticket Wizard, and he is telling us what we should and should not do when we get pulled over with that DUI. Hopefully you haven't gotten pulled over with a DUI, and luckily I haven't, because you got to drink to get pulled over with one. I know I'm not helping you, but I do text and drive.
Which is also frowned upon, for the record.
I
You're not supposed to do
I
that either.
thought you liked that.
The business that comes from it I like, but I'm encouraging
I'm
you not
joking.
to
I
do
do
it.
not
I
text
know.
and drive. I'm just joking. I
Okay.
talk text.
I understand.
All right. We're not
So-
hands-free yet.
Well, in school zones we're supposed to be.
Well, I don't
That's the
talk
law, by the
text
way.
in school zones. Anyway, so we were talking about what happens if you disagree with the law enforcement officer's assessment of the incident. Like, some people might get like, that's not what happened, and they get really upset and agitated.
Okay, so this is easier said than done. It's best to be calm, and you're not going to change the law enforcement officer's opinion of what happened or what they reconstructed in their own mind if they were trying to figure out who caused what damage and who caused the accident. You're better off trying to stay reserved, because one of the questions that the judges always ask is, what was the attitude of the person who got the ticket? And they want to know. And believe it or not, that factors into what would be considered a punishment at the end of the case. Oftentimes, if a person gives a law enforcement officer a hard time, they're given an extra dose of what would be considered 4, 8, or 12 hours of school.
Oh, wow.
So it's best to
And
be
you can't get
on
them
your
out of
best
that.
behavior.
So what's a good number if somebody is in one of these pickles to
Okay.
call you?
We could be reached at 866-374-8355. That's Kevin Unger, 866-374-8355.
And you can also Google the Ticket Wizard, right?
Yes,
.com. And it's pretty easy, ticketwizard.com.
yes. And I think there's even a prompt when you call the office, if it's after hours, and you hit 3, it'll transfer right to my cell phone.
Oh, gosh, your wife must love that. So here's the biggest question I think everybody asks. I just got pulled over for a DUI.
Okay,
Do I give a breathalyzer, or do I not give a breathalyzer?
okay. So I'm going to answer your question as straightforward as I can. And
Because you really can't give legal advice like this.
well, first, okay, let me start with this.
Yeah.
How do you know you're even being pulled over for a DUI? I'll tell you, one of the things people
I've been
ask me-
drinking.
Well, that would be also
I'm
true.
telling you, I did get pulled over once. I was popping a zit, and I was my nose was red because it was bothering me, and then I was kind of driving, and he pulled me over. So you think you're getting pulled over for a DUI?
Okay, so other than popping a zit, the reason
That was a long time ago, 20-something years ago. I don't have any zits anymore.
the reason you would know you're getting, I'm saying, investigated, if you were in an accident, the officer would say something like this to you. They would say, we're now closing the accident portion of the investigation, and we're opening up a criminal investigation for a DUI. They would say that straight up to you. Okay? They say, I'm changing hats, believe it or not. That's the term they use.
Oh, wow.
Or if there's no accident, they pull you over for speeding or weaving, then what would happen is the first thing you would realize is that the officer takes out a pen and they give you something called an HGN test, and they want you to follow this with your eyes. And they're looking for nystagmus. And if your eye is jerking when you're looking at that pen, that's a sign to them that you're impaired. And then they're going to begin the process of investigating you, or a criminal investigation for a DUI.
You didn't answer the question. You
I will.
evaded the question.
I will answer it.
So, do I breathe into their little thing, or do I not breathe into their little thing? And if I don't breathe into it, what happens to me?
Okay. So if you looked at your driver's license, at the bottom of your license, it says that you consent to any sobriety exercise. It's right there on your license. It's one of the things you sign when you get a license, and it's on the bottom of everybody's license.
Okay.
So if you were to give a sample, a breath sample, when the law enforcement officer asks you, what would happen is you're giving the state evidence that they can use against you in the form of a breath sample. If you're above a 0.08, now you're legally impaired, okay, and they can use that in court as saying you were above the legal limit. If you blow over a 0.15, now you get an enhanced DUI punishment, and that's going to be stricter terms for you when you resolve your case if you're found guilty of a DUI or if you plead to it. On the other hand, let's say you refuse to give a breath sample. In the eyes of the law, they call that, simply enough, a refusal. And that means you're not willing to give the state of Florida a sample of your breath, and you're going to make it harder for a prosecutor to prove your case. So people say to me, well, should I blow and give a sample or not?
Okay, but now you just told me I signed something saying that I have to give it. So there's still going to be some kind of punishment here.
Correct. So I'll explain a little further. If you give the state of Florida a breath sample,
We're
your
going to need you
punishment-
one way or another, though.
Yes, you would. But there's different ways to handle these types of cases. And if you give the state of Florida a breath sample, you're cooperating, and your back end punishment would be less, specifically with regard to a 6-month driver license suspension for a first DUI, as opposed to a 1-year driver license suspension for a refusal. So does that make sense to you?
Right, but you don't know what you're going to breathe. You're going to
Well,
blow,
that's
so.
right, correct. So, you know, if you said to me, what's the best advice I can give you? I would say if you've been drinking, it's better to call a $35 Uber than to pay us to represent you in a case like that.
That's not helping making business.
For those of you out there who are paying attention, I'm giving you the best advice.
You are.
Pay for the
There's a
$35 Uber.
Uber.
You'll thank me
Yeah.
10 times over.
Okay, so unfortunately, we're going to be running out of time. We have about 2 minutes left.
Okay.
So number one is I want you to one more time give your number so people can reach you.
Okay, you can reach us, Ticket Wizards, at 1-866-374-8355. That's 866-374-8355.
If you liked what you heard today, you definitely want to give Mr. Unger a call. If you have any kind of traffic, even if you just get a traffic ticket, do not pay the traffic ticket. I'm not a lawyer, but I think I'm right. Don't pay the traffic ticket for, what is it, $89.95, $99.95 now?
$89.95.
$89.95, and I'm telling you, he 99.9% of the time gets you off from that ticket and saves you points on your license, getting your insurance increased. Like, people, I can't believe how many people I hear pay these tickets. It's mind-blowing.
That's a big mistake. So
Yes.
when you pay a ticket, basically you're admitting guilt, and that's against your best interest. If you fight the ticket with us, or with one of my competitors, hopefully with us, we're confident that not only are we going to save you money, we have a slogan in our office, 5 minutes will save you $500 possibly.
And 12 hours in traffic school.
Correct. So most of our clients don't have to go to school.
And your insurance is going to get raised and all that
Yes.
other stuff. So definitely give him a call. Also, by the way, just reminding you, I am your realtor. My main purpose of being here is to get you to call me. And if you're thinking about selling your home and you want to make sure it looks in the best light possible, I'm offering the 0% second mortgage right now for those that qualify to get your home remodeled, to make sure it shows the best. Check out my Facebook page and see some of the most remodels that we've done lately. And my niece, Brianna Sanders, she is the one that is walking through them. She is amazing. She is the best. And I wish she lived here to be my little helper. So, see you guys next week. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in for Making Money with Laura Sanders, a name you can trust. To join the conversation, call us at the studio, 888-994-4995 Studio A, or contact Laura directly at 954-650-0827. Laura Sanders, a name you can trust.